Hello and a very warm welcome. Jim Black, he wants to know any funny stories at school. We've got going up in the attic when I was at school, but we've got a teacher playing football in the snow and giving us an absolute bollocking for skiving his lesson. But the all-time funny one is very embarrassing. I never put it on my most embarrassing because this is embarrassing, and I don't even know if it would be allowed on YouTube because it may be sexually inappropriate, let's say. But I'm going to cover it. If this video gets taken down, you know why. So we went up in the attic. That was a pretty funny story. One of my mates fell through the attic, which was quite funny, and he got absolutely bollocked, had to pay for the damage, and he had a month's detention basically. Then we have our teacher. You always have one of them teacher acts the hard man. I used to do sports studies, and we had this bald-headed guy who was hard as nails, always acting tough. It was snowing. We were all playing football, and he basically got his head stuck like in the snow. It was absolutely hilarious. Just this big tough guy, and he gets his head stuck in the snow, and he acts all hard, and he was cold, he was shivering because it was snowing. Big softy. Then we skipped his lesson, like we skived his lesson. He knew full well we skived his lesson. He brought us outside and gave us the biggest bollocking ever. And honestly, I just burst out laughing after he gave us this bollocking, and I had like 2 weeks detention. He went absolutely crazy at us. You two, I know fine well you skived my lesson. You skived my lesson again. I'm going to bang your heads against the brick wall. I'm going to bang your heads together. You skived my lesson again. And he went absolutely berserk at us. Like, it wasn't just a telling off by a teacher. He was actually going like full on at us. But my most funniest story from school, and my most embarrassing as well. I never included this in my most embarrassing because, as I said, it's probably inappropriate. But we were in German. I used to do German at school as well. I loved German. I didn't want to do French, so I did German. We were having our lesson. It was Friday afternoon. It was the last lesson of the day. And then we were breaking up. I can't remember whether it was the 6 weeks holidays, Easter, whatever. But I had these stink bombs in my pocket. I'm sat next to one of the hottest girls in our year, in our school, and I had these stink bombs in my pocket. I chucked it against the wall. Now we had this big fat teacher and also a big fat guy, and I chucked it against the wall. You could see it all down the wall, and it started to come up, it started to smell. Everyone was in tears in the class. I literally made everyone in the class laugh. And then the teacher blamed this fat guy, who was also my mate. He blamed him for farting, and I was in tears. But then here comes the chestnut. The girl I was sat next to, she was actually crying and in tears herself, and I was bright red, crying, literally tears down my eyes. It was so funny. And then comes the chestnut. We had to stand up, and he basically said, I need you to stand up, empty your pockets, etc. And luckily I didn't have any left. I only had the one. And then, like, we were all laughing, and this the one I sat next to in German, she gave me a hug. And then comes the most embarrassing moment probably ever in school that you could get. She gave me a hug, and what happens? I can't even bring myself to say it. It's embarrassing. Yeah, she gave me a hug. I actually can't. Keep a straight face. She gave me a hug. We were all stood up, emptying our pockets. She gave me a hug because she was in tears, and then I basically get it up, and then I'm literally stood up. No way of covering it. and literally I get terrorised for the rest of my school years. Like, literally had the nickname Boner. Boner! Boner! Oh, she just answered a question, make sure you don't get a boner. Oh, she just stood up, make sure you don't get a boner. And I was terrorised. Absolutely terrorised. That is my most funny story from school. It has to be. Literally letting off a stink bomb, the whole class laughing. I get a hug off the hottest, one of the hottest in the year. Because she was in hysterics. Like, I actually made her laugh. And they do say a way to a woman's heart is to make her laugh. And then she gave me a hug. And then it went off, didn't it? Like, you can't control it. It just went off. And there's me, just stood up with a big stiff, massive bloody rock on. And then I get terrorised for the rest of my years. Every time she answered the question in German. Unbelievable. Like, I don't know. They do, sometimes you just get it in unusual circumstances, let's say, and that was one of them. And then next time I had to sit next to her when we came back. Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing because she knew about it as well. And she had a boyfriend at the time, so unbelievable. But yeah, that is my most funny story from school and most embarrassing. It has to be. Like, literally. Yeah, and it was pretty awkward for the rest of my school days. And with sat next to her. Wow. Comment down below, we'll always reply, and that is me totally being honest. I don't even know if this should be allowed or whether it's appropriate, but yeah. That is my nickname from school. Boner! Like the in-betweeners. That is literally what happened to me. If you've not seen the in-betweeners, basically a girl leans over. Oh, do you wear links now? He basically gets a boner. And that's what happened to me from getting a hug. Very embarrassing.